Hi, everyone. Sam Wynns here, conservation biologist and science educator with the Great Basin Institute and National Park Service here in beautiful San Diego at Cabrillo National Monument, which you can see here in my background. And today I'm going to speak to you about one of my favorite projects at the park, something called EcoLogik. But first, let me just share my screen here with you. One moment, please. Excellent. There we go. All right. So as I said, I am a science educator and a conservation biologist. And what does that mean to be a scientist and a science educator at the park? Well, it means my focus is on doing science and then communicating that science to others with the goal of education and also inspiration for our incredible natural resources and incredible national parks in general. Well, how do I accomplish this? Well, through a variety of ways. I am a science communicator that leads school field trips. We see thousands of school kids a year, public talks, programs like the Science Explorers Club, where we engage visitors to the park with hands-on science activities, and so much more. And one of my favorite ways to educate and inspire is through a program that I mentioned a moment ago called EcoLogik, which is a free STEM summer camp for girls aged 9 through 16. But as you know, this year has been a little different. COVID-19 has impacted the type of interactions and programming we've been able to offer at the park this year. And so this year, my fellow science educator, Andrew Rosales, and I made the decision to pivot to a virtual STEM summer camp for girls to A, follow state and city health guidelines, and B, to safeguard the health and wellness of this year's campers. So what does that mean to go virtual? What does that exactly look like? Well, instead of just trying to translate what we do for in-person EcoLogik into an online camp, Andrew and I developed something entirely new. We wanted to do that for a couple of reasons. First, not everything translates well to a virtual platform. I'm sure we've all been to those Zoom events that kind of fall flat on their face, right? And second, COVID willing, we really wanted to offer up the in-person camp to the same cohort of girls next year. And since you can only attend camp once because the curriculum is the same from year to year, unless you happen to be a student ambassador, it's kind of like a camp counselor. That meant we needed to make this year's camp very different from previous ones. The one that, fingers crossed, they'll be attending in person this upcoming summer. So we knew we were going virtual, but what were the outcomes we wanted to establish? Well, we wanted this version to be a STEM summer camp where they learn a lot, of course, but we also wanted to be careful to make this camp fun. I mean, summer camp should be fun, right? And we were very cognizant about not making this school. Kids are going to get enough of virtual school this year with COVID-19. And so we also really wanted to form a sense of community. The summer camp is so much about making friends and bonding with like-minded folks. And then lastly, we also really wanted to make it diverse. Part of the goal of EcoLogik is encouraging kids to love and possibly pursue STEM as a career. And we know through copious amounts of peer-reviewed research that kids don't pursue what they don't see themselves as. So diversity is key to bringing all voices to the STEM table, right? Not only diversity within the group of campers that we recruit, but also diversity in the group of women that they meet, which we'll get to in just a moment. Okay, with that in mind, the team settled on an adventure format where the campers embarked on daily quests. Allow me to explain. We used a platform called TED-Ed's Earth School, and this is a screenshot of a quest overview, okay, to guide these themes. Every day, the campers had a new theme that had to do with nature and tech, which is the motto of EcoLogik. And they would embark on these quests to learn all about these themes. So TED-Ed Earth School is is a 6-week course, and we basically just chose 2 of those weeks that we thought were the best fit for Cabrillo National Monument and the science that we're trying to teach there. Okay, so for example, one of the days was all about biodiversity. So everything that we did that day, every quest the campers went on had to do with that theme. First, they would watch an introductory video, TED Ed video on the subject, which you can see here with a little watch tab to the right. Then they would quiz themselves on comprehension of that video. So there's the Think tab. And then they dig a little deeper by selecting something from this category, the dig deeper category, like games, crafting projects, upcycling, etc. So afterward, they would watch a video from a guest female STEM professional. And like I said, more on this in a bit. In this video is an activity that the students could do at home along with the professional. So for instance, the professional that aligned with this day, biodiversity, is Monique Avery Pipkin, whose work in behavioral ecology studies the biodiversity of birds. And since this camp has to do with nature, we wanted the campers to have outside time. And we asked them to find a safe place that they could return to every day to answer journal questions and to do a thematic art project. And for fun, here's some of that art. So here we have, when we did climate change, we had the students make a climate vision board, so kind of a vision of what they want for the future. We also had them write letters to Earth. What did they want to say to planet Earth? And they could embellish that however they wanted to, which you can see here, these beautiful paintings. One of the days we had them do nature comics, which is another way to communicate science. And so down here at the bottom, you can see an example of the comic they did about their endangered species of choice, the manatee. We had them paint some 3D printed bat stars when we talked about our oceans. We had them upcycle some plastics, which you can see from some of the art on here, and so much more. I think they had uploaded something like 100 pieces of art, which was fantastic. That's exactly what we were looking for. Okay, so finally, the next day, right, after they had all of those quests pertaining to their theme of the day, in this instance, biodiversity, they got to discuss the topic and had a live Q&A with a featured guest feminist. So after the Q&A, we would tie it all up with a ribbon and a bow back to the park. Andrew and I made videos of Cabrillo that all had to do with the theme. So for instance, for the theme of biodiversity, we created a video about the biodiversity of birds to be found at Cabrillo National Monument, which also aligned with our guest feminist research, Monique Avery Pipkin. So even though the girls couldn't experience the park in person this year, they could see how these topics and tech related back to the park. And overall, I would say that Virtual EcoLogik was really a resounding success. We served 26 students and engaged 11 guest feminists, with the vast majority of the feedback we received being overwhelmingly positive. In fact, as I stated to my coworkers and to the Cabrillo National Monument Foundation board, it was so successful that I could really envision Virtual EcoLogik happening even when we aren't in the midst of a pandemic. This platform was not just kind of a booby prize because we couldn't do in-person EcoLogik. Virtual EcoLogik has different benefits than an in-person EcoLogik, such as the ability to reach a larger volume of students at a fraction of the cost, the ability to reach students with accessibility issues, the ability to include professionals that are not local, like many of my fellow incredible if-then ambassadors, whom you saw just a couple of slides ago, and students that are not local as well. So to wrap it up today, even though we had to keep calm and adept on during these unprecedented times, we were able to deliver a wonderful program that I firmly believe changed the lives of these kids for the better. And this program is only made possible through your support, right? So your support of the Cabrillo National Monument Foundation in fundraising events and donations. So I'd like to personally thank you for inspiring these campers, the next generation of environmental stewards and STEMinists. Thank you very much.